Okay, we're in volume 10 of the Bible story. See, it still has the plastic wrap on it. These are 70 years old. And I think all of them are proof sets because they have a lot of errors in them. Okay, we are at part 1, story 10. Excuse me. The Antelope Lady. Weird name. Okay. Fancy calling a lady an antelope. But that is what they did, and that is what she was. Her real name is Tabitha, but the people of Joppa gave her the nickname uh, Dorcas. Dor- Dorcas, Dorcas, meaning gazelle or antelope. I don't know why. It was because she was always running so quickly as she could from one needy person to another. But not only but not only are antelopes swift-footed, they are gentle and friendly creatures too, and so was Tabitha. Perhaps she had big bright eyes as they do, eyes that show interest in people and tender sympathy for them in their trials and sorrows. This wonderful lady was the life of the Japa church. She had always she was always thinking up new ways to show kindness to others. The Bible says that she was full of good works and acts of charity. When she didn't have hands, when she didn't have her hands full nursing somebody's sick child or talking to some blind person or taking flowers to a shut-in, she made garments of all sorts of for the poor. Okay. Okay. Yet, busy as she was, ever rushing from one thing to another, she always was patient and sweet-tempered, radiating, radiating courage and good cheer everywhere she went. No wonder everybody loved her. No wonder, too, the whole church was plunged into sorrow when she suddenly was taken ill and died. How did she die? I don't know. Probably because she was worn out helping others. Maybe she caught a germ from some sick person from whom she was caring. It was custom in those days to bury the dead person right away, but the people of Joppa couldn't bear to part with their beloved little Antelope Lady. So they put her body in an upper room and waited. Somebody said, "If only Peter were here." And somebody else said, "But he is." "Where?" asked everybody at once. "In Lydia." At Lydia. Lyddia. It's a funny way to spell Lydia, but Lydia. Just a few miles away. Only a day or two ago, he healed a man named uh, Aeneas. No, Aeneas. Aeneas, who had been sick in bed for 8 years. "Let's send for him, then," cried all, and two men set out for Lydia. Finding Peter, they told him the story of Tabitha and begged him to come at once. He agreed, and the three hurried back to Joppa as fast as they could. Coming to the room where the body of Dorcas was lying, Peter found it full of weeping widows who Dorcas, and then it has illustrations right here of her giving a clothing to a little kid, and then her healing, giving medicine to a sick person. And the illustrations are a little blurry, and it's not my camera, which I always have to say, but these are the two illustrations that are on here. Tabitha, or Darkest, or Dorcus, Dorcas. So these are the pictures of Tabitha. Let's get back to the story. Okay, Peter found it full of weeping widows who Dorcas had helped during their lifetime. They showed Peter coats and other garments she had made for them. Gently he asked them all to leave. Then he knelt beside the bed and prayed. What a picture! The big fisherman of Galilee on his knees before God, asking him to give life to a dead woman. How earnest he must have prayed, as just as Elisha prayed for the dead son of the great woman of Shushan, long, long, long before. Long, long before. It's two longs, not three. Okay. I could almost hear him saying, Dear Lord, if it be thy will, restore this dear woman to life. Thy church in Joppa needs her. Dorcas, they call her, Lord, and such she has been, a gazelle, an antelope, leaping one good work to another for the sake of thy needy ones. Make it possible for her to continue her ministry of love, for the glory of thy name. As he rose to his knees and turned to the body and said, Tabitha, arise. At And she opened her eyes, and when she saw Peter, she sat up. I'm sure she did. At last, the last person she expected to see in her room was the famous apostle of whom she had heard so many wonderful stories. And then, of all things, Peter held out his hand to help her up. I'm sure she never forgot that simple kindness as long as she lived. Yeah. And the smile of joy and thankfulness on his noble, friendly face stayed with her forever. Now calling the saints and the widows who had been waiting impatiently outside, Peter presented her alive. They could hardly believe their eyes, and their happiness knew no bounds. Their dear, kind Antelope Lady was back with them again. As for Dorcas, I'm sure she didn't stay around very long. In no time at all, she went hurrying off to help somebody else in need. And then it has two illustrations. Looking to see if they're signed, which they're not. And this one up at the top is uh, the widow showing the clothes that she made and the body. And then down at the bottom, you have Peter smiling with him helping Tabitha up. And there's the two illustrations together. together. And then here's the one with the women showing the clothes that she made and the body in the room. And then down here at the bottom is Peter with the living Tabitha and the other people rushing in and enjoying themselves that she's back with them and helping. Okay, and let's see. That was part one, story 10. So I'm going to stop this because it's the break time, and I'll be back in just a bit.